Democrats' new gun control idea would force Coloradans to have their currently untraceable guns stamped with a serial number. A proposal to stop all new oil and gas development in Colorado 7 years from now. The switch to electric vehicles have firefighters preparing for car fires differently.
As soon as they put water on that, it exploded and blew out the garage door.
And a competition today to crown the handiest of all men or women. If you put in a maintenance ticket at your place and it didn't get worked on today, it's because they were at their Olympics. That's tonight on Next. Gun control is a major focus of the Democrats who run the state capitol this session, and they have a new bill set to be introduced today. It would crack down on so-called ghost guns. The bill, sponsored by Democratic Senators Rhonda Fields and Chris Hansen, would make it illegal to manufacture, sell, or possess a gun without a serial number. And it would require Coloradans who already own one of these so-called ghost guns to have it stamped with a serial number. Ghost guns are typically made from DIY kits and 3D printers. They allow people to get around mandatory background checks and a whole host of other gun laws. The proposal is the latest in a long series of gun control measures introduced by Democrats this year, and it's likely to pass despite Republican opposition. There is one Democrat-sponsored gun bill that might be in trouble. We've been telling you about the proposal to ban so-called assault weapons, how it's just sitting in the House. Its committee hearing was postponed last month. It's not clear if that bill has the Democrat votes to pass. Progressive environmental groups are pushing to get an initiative on the ballot next year that would end new oil and gas permits in Colorado by 2030. Previous attempts to restrict energy development have been rejected by voters. Our Luis De Leon looks at this latest idea.
The views of oil and gas extraction can be hard to miss in our state. Active and abandoned oil rigs dot the land as you drive further north on I-25.
But unfortunately, we are still allowing a whole lot of extraction to happen here in the state.
Micah Parkin is executive director of 350 Colorado. They're one of the local organizations that's part of a coalition called Safe and Healthy Colorado. They're behind a ballot initiative proposal that phases out new oil and gas permits by 2030. Parkin says they submitted 2 versions of the measure to the state legislative council last week.
It all relates as far as our dependence on fossil fuels. It would help to protect our air, our land, our water quality, and also our climate.
According to data from the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission, they approved 1,115 well permits last year. To date this year, they approved 414 permits. Nationwide, Colorado ranks 5th for crude oil production, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration.
Never a slow time. Nope.
Dan Haley is president and CEO of the Colorado Oil and Gas Association. His first thoughts on the initiative's language?
Yeah, it's kind of deja vu.
Deja vu because in 2018, Proposition 112, which would have created a 2,500-foot off-limit zone for oil and gas production around places like homes and schools, failed at the hands of voters. Haley thinks if this gets on the ballot, it too would fail.
Because they don't want to pay more for their energy than they're already paying right now.
He argues, among other things, that the measure could knock out a lot of jobs, demand is high, and believes the industry is already under strict regulation by the state.
We're at a time now where we know we need energy. So the question becomes, where do you want to get your energy?
So Safe and Healthy Colorado has until early August to turn in the signatures needed to even get this on the ballot. Parkin, you heard from there, was actually on the board of the group that was behind that 2018 proposition that failed. She says while the focus of this measure is phasing out new oil and gas permits, she does say that it would allow what's already in production to continue. Kyle, I mentioned there's 2 versions of the language that they submitted. The difference is one includes providing assistance to workers impacted by the reduction of the operations.
Yeah, in the past, Colorado's referred to this somewhat controversially as a just transition for those workers. I don't know, if nothing else, Luis, if this gets on the ballot, it would be an interesting test of where Colorado is politically, just how much things have changed, because even as this state has moved leftward, there has still been an affinity for energy production.
Right, and Parkin argues to that end that they were really outspent by the oil and gas industry, actually even acknowledging today that they will never really have that fundraising or that money that the industry has. So we'll just have to see how this plays out.
Almost like they're pumping money out of the ground. All right, Luis, thank you very much. So the city of Denver is joining a growing list of municipalities that have come out in opposition to Democratic Governor Jared Polis's latest legislative priority. This is the bill that would mandate new zoning codes statewide in an effort to create more affordable housing. Today, Mayor Michael Hancock and Denver City Council announced that while they support the idea of building more affordable housing, they cannot support what they're calling the governor's top-down approach to preempt home rule authority. That's the basic idea that cities are in charge of a lot of stuff. The wide-ranging bill would set new zoning standards for cities across the state and keep the largest cities from limiting construction of multiple unit housing like duplexes. It will also allow for more housing to be built near transportation. Supporters, including the governor, say that the bill would add housing and hopefully help to alleviate the affordability crisis. So Denver's not on board with this. Neither is the Colorado Municipal League, which says that zoning codes and land use ordinances are a local deal. While we are talking land use issues, we are getting some feedback on a related story from yesterday. Several of you noticed an unfortunate typo in a legal document that said, quote, local governments are best suited to meet the unique land use needs of their community through transparent, public processes. A next viewer named Holly Sprunger caught that. Viewer named Jean saw it, another named Patrick. To be clear, this was not our typo. It was there in the original document. The Supreme Court filing obviously should not have read pubic processes, but I'm sure you still got the thrust of it. Former Denver Mayor Federico Pena is endorsing Mike Johnson in the mayoral runoff. Pena went 0 for 2 with endorsements in the last open mayoral race in 2011. Today, Pena backed Johnson's campaign, calling him the right person to, quote, build upon our great city. Johnson's runoff opponent, Kelly Brough, worked for former Mayor John Hickenlooper. He has not made an endorsement in the race. Brough is endorsed by an unelected former mayor, Bill Vidal. Remember him? He served a couple of months in office when Hickenlooper cut out early. In 2011, Pena originally endorsed James Mejia, who finished third in the first round of voting, and then Pena endorsed Chris Romer for the runoff, and Romer lost to eventual mayor Michael Hancock. So the state of Colorado's got this ambitious plan to get nearly 1 million electric cars on the road by 2030. When those cars catch fire, because all cars can catch fire, firefighters will need to respond differently or risk learning an explosive lesson. Here's Mark Salinger.
When an electric car catches fire and water is used to try and put it out, garage doors go flying 30 feet.
We had no idea there was a Jeep in there being charged.
All Mountain View firefighters could see inside this garage in Erie when they arrived yesterday was a whole lot of smoke and flames coming from inside the Jeep.
They saw the back seat was on fire, used the water. As soon as the water hit the batteries, it exploded that room because of the buildup of gases.
Doug Saba knows water and electric battery fires don't mix well. He's the deputy fire marshal for Mountain View Fire Rescue.
Once we put water with an inorganic and an organic mixing, it's not a good combination.
If firefighters had known the Jeep inside the smoke-filled garage was a hybrid car, they probably wouldn't have used water. Fire departments are now training specifically how to battle these fires because they see so many of them, from cars to snowblowers and even cell phones.
Not only are we seeing them more, I've investigated 3 fires this week with lithium-ion batteries.
At South Metro Fire Rescue, firefighters are training to use a giant tarp that suffocates a fire.
That basically takes the oxygen out of that fire. The batteries in the car are still burning underneath, but it takes about 15 hours before that fire actually burns itself through.
A fire truck can carry 500 gallons of water. Not even that works to put out electric vehicle fires.
We want to make sure the firefighters are trained on how to do that. A lot of them used to just spray water and keep spraying water for hours.
So firefighters in Mountain View say they're seeing a huge uptick in electric battery fires, and it'll likely get worse. Colorado wants those 940,000 electric vehicles on the road by 2030. That's the state's goal. This Jeep was charging at the time, and they still don't know what went wrong. These cars, of course, can catch fire. If they do, firefighters say they're pretty difficult to put out.
When you talk about this, Mark, it reminds me of the Marshall Fire and all the firefighting resources that were crowded around the Tesla building there in, I guess, Superior, right off of US 36.
Yeah, and people were there saying, hey, why are you protecting this multi-billion-dollar company's asset, this Tesla either factory or dealership there? And the reason for that is because if the Tesla dealership had caught fire, it could have burned for days. It would have been an environmental disaster. And the reason is because when these batteries catch fire, they're so hard to put out.
I will say, as somebody who drove by late that night, stopped to take some pictures there, the smell at that spot and that fire was something to behold. So whatever burned there at the Tesla factory, or the Tesla store, just smelled like nasty business.
Probably not great.
Not great. All right, Mark, thank you. So one approach to the problem of homelessness in Colorado is preventing it before it happens. That's why this week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports Neighbor to Neighbor, a nonprofit in northern Colorado. They work to keep people in their homes so that they don't lose their homes. They do that through emergency rent assistance, help paying utility bills, fighting evictions alongside families, and working with people to find affordable housing throughout northern Colorado. Neighbor to Neighbor notes that having a stable home is the foundation to having a stable life. The Coloradans they work with are able to focus on their work, earn more money. Their kids can focus on school and improve their grades. Families become more financially secure when they don't have to worry month to month that they're going to lose their housing. Neighbor to Neighbor has gone out and secured a matching grant from a national nonprofit. So how this works is if we can raise $25,000 as a community through this Word of Thanks microgiving campaign, they're going to get another $25,000 on top of that. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to get that link to donate. As always, I'll match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us started. And tonight, with that match, your $5 is $10. Add a bunch of those together, and we've helped a lot of Coloradans stay in their homes. A Denver-based voting systems company suing Fox News got some good news from a judge today. And they are the people you call when you can't fix it yourself. Today, their skills became a competition.
This is the largest maintenance celebration event in the country. They get to do a water heater installation or fix a lock set.
Maintenance Mania gives some love to the often unappreciated folks who always get the job done. Next. Denver-based Dominion Voting Systems was the target of far-right conspiracy theories after Donald Trump's loss in 2020. The company sued Fox News Channel for spreading those lies. Today, right ahead of the start of that trial, the judge appeared fed up with Fox. Dominion is suing the network for $1.6 billion for the network's reports that Dominion machines rigged the 2020 election. In pretrial hearings today, the judge in the case said he plans to appoint an independent special master to investigate whether Fox withheld key evidence by not disclosing the extent of Rupert Murdoch's role at Fox News. The judge says that attorneys potentially withheld communications from the CEO by claiming that he was only involved with Fox News' parent company, not involved with the network itself. So the judge is appointing a special master to look into this, possibly sanction Fox. The network denies any wrongdoing and says that its business filings clearly label Murdoch's role with the company. Jury selection in that defamation trial is set to begin tomorrow.
It was a shorts and T-shirts kind of day. Roll the windows down, maybe even blast the AC. It was hot. It was a record breaker. The previous record, 79, that was last set just a couple of years ago in 2018. Today's new record going down here in Denver, 85 degrees. You thought it was toasty around here. Look at the Eastern Plains. Sterling all the way south of Springfield in the 90s this afternoon. We were in the 70s in Kremling, Eagle, and up to Meeker. Tonight across downtown, a little bit of cloud cover starting to push back in as we're gearing up for another storm system to roll in. The wind's still hooting and hollering out there. 20, 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts coming through. So much so that we still will be monitoring high fire danger for us tomorrow. In fact, the entire eastern side of Colorado under a red flag warning noon until 8 o'clock for those wind gusts tomorrow afternoon, upwards of 45 miles per hour. As we look on HD.9, we're just starting to see the first signs of the storm system that's set to roll in tomorrow. We'll push into here to the metro area by Friday, but a little bit of light rain actually coming through the high country areas, possibly some snowfall along those higher peaks. By tomorrow morning, a mix of sun and clouds here in Denver, clouds thickening up as the afternoon wears on. 5, 6 o'clock, the rain, the snow positioned off to the northwestern side of the state, and then eventually that moisture making its way here to Denver by early Friday. Tomorrow, still going to be a warm one for you. Not a record breaker, but highs sitting in the upper 70s, low 80s for eastern Colorado, a little bit cooler up into the high country. Your 7-day forecast bringing us a good chance for rain on Friday, a nice cool off, low 50s Saturday before the heat returns next week.
Hundreds of professionals gather to compete in Maintenance Mania.
Yeah, we definitely can fix a couple things here.
It's the ultimate hands team. Next. If your maintenance request went unanswered at your apartment complex today, there's a good chance you can blame it on Maintenance Mania. 2,000 Fix-It pros all in one place today, celebrating their industry and competing to do your to-dos the fastest.
This is the largest maintenance celebration event in the country.
We're at the 2023 Maintenance Mania competition.
They are the unsung heroes, and they don't necessarily get the recognition that they deserve.
Yeah, so every year we put on competitions, and there are 7 different competitions that are timed. The events go anywhere from 4 seconds up to 10 seconds, 12 seconds, depending on how they're done and how they're judged. We're the ones there unclogging toilets. We're the one there fixing smoke detectors. We're the ones there that are when nobody else wants to be there.
Hey, good run, man.
Yeah, so Greg and them are some of my fellow competitors. They represent Greystar, who's the biggest company in the country right now.
Yes, we're part of Team Greystar, which is great. We have a huge team. It's really competitive, but we managed to, as a team, to win this competition several years, which is really cool. My favorite competition this year is the Kitty Smoke Fire Alarm. It's probably my favorite one this year. Yeah, I'm here to cheer on our guys, yep. Come on, Shane.
The water heater installation, they go so fast.
Time is a ticking. Yeah. Still fast, still fast.
We have a bronze, silver, and gold medal for each competition that we do.
They set an event up like this for us to do is really, really neat,
And they're really giving us an opportunity to show that we're more than just guys behind the scenes fixing things at apartment communities. I'm grateful that everybody's shedding a spotlight on an unknown industry.
I love that so much. Could you imagine, though, if they just tore in and out of your place like that, They just blow past you at the door. You're like, it's the second bathroom around, and then out they come with their tools again. Might freak you out a little bit, right? Today's events were just the semis. Top overall qualifiers go to the National Maintenance Mania in Atlanta. We're back with a word about how we're working together to keep Coloradans in their homes. Plus your feedback next. Thousands of Coloradans have a home thanks to a nonprofit called Neighbor to Neighbor, and that's really no exaggeration. Neighbor to Neighbor prevents homelessness in northern Colorado by helping families avoid eviction and by finding housing that they can afford. They provide rent and mortgage payment assistance, help paying high utility bills, and classes for people who are planning for home ownership. They helped more than 9,000 families last year, and they prevented more than 4,000 evictions. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to get the link to join me in donating Neighbor to Neighbor. Here's the deal with this week's microgiving campaign. This is kind of special. If we're able to raise $25,000 through this microgiving campaign, there's a national nonprofit that is going to match it with another $25,000. As a way that we can really have a big-time impact. And your feedback tonight, Gary says, why do people send you nasty messages at the end of your show? If they are not happy with your reporting, isn't it easier to just not watch the show? It's a good question, Gary. I have a feeling that getting angry is often the only exercise that some of these people get all day, so I don't want to deny them that. I also tend to think, just from a common sense perspective, even if you think the show is terrible, it still made you feel something, right? Which that versus something that's not going to make you feel anything at all, it's just going to wash over you like a wave on a beach. I don't know. Terrible doesn't sound so terrible. Patrick says, all right, I say clean-shaven Kyle by Monday. Either his wife, his daughters, or his bosses, or a combination will get it done. It's a very solid bet, Patrick, but I'm holding out for now. See you next time.